I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. It's been a great experience registering people and saying hello. And now today is our third Elk Grove Writers Conference. And I'd like to introduce a couple of people that are already in the room right now. George, don't leave. I want you to give a hand to George Hahn. He is my vice president, and he does a lot. And then we have Betsy Swartzentraub. She's my secretary. She's out there checking everybody in. And we have my treasurer, Shelby Johnson. She's in the, raise your hand, Shelby. And we have some volunteers. Simone Johnson is out there. She's the other person checking everybody in. And then I want to thank my sponsors, the Gold Country Writers, San Joaquin Valley Writers, NCPA, CWC, Sacramento, and the city of Elk Grove and the city of Sacramento. They're not here, but thank you anyway for the money. Appreciate that very much. And everybody helped to make this conference happen. So, about a week ago, I got an email, and it said, I'm so sorry, but I can't come to the conference and do my keynote. I have a serious family health issue. That was Gregory Randall. And we felt bad for him. He sounded dreadful on the phone when I called him. And I thought, oh no, who's going to do the keynote? So I thought of a few people, but the first person I called was Bernard Wozny. And he's here today. He stepped up, and he's going to do the keynote. Thank you so much, Bernard.
I'm going to try.
You're in for a treat. Take it from me, you're in for a treat. Bernard is American-born, British-raised. He self-published 2 novels, and there's more on the way, he says. As president of California Writers Club, Sacramento, he encourages collaboration and fresh ideas. And I'm excited to introduce him. Bernard Wozny, as keynote speaker of the Elk Grove Writers Conference 2023. Please give him a hand. Woo!
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to do my best because it was all very short notice. I'm keeping the theme of which is, hang on, I'll get to it. Where am I? There we go. What's new in writing and publishing? And I'm going to try to give you an insight to the future of our craft. Now, I've added this quote here that the problem of humanity is we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. And to be honest, I don't complain about Paleolithic emotions because that's a lot of fun. Medieval institutions, okay, that might be questionable. Godlike technology, I'm going to show you some of that. And to be honest, it's not without controversy. So if there are any Luddites out there in front, please don't chase me down the road with pitchforks and stuff. I think we have a question.
Bernard, first of all, thank you so much. I've had the experience you've had with short notice and having to get up there, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I didn't drive all this way to be told we had to cancel because we couldn't get a keynote. So thanks, Bernard. Who is Edward O. Wilson?
That's your homework for this evening. He calls himself, well, he's now passed, but he calls himself a sociobiologist, and he has ideas about how society and humanity and biology are intertwined and interlinked. That's not the subject of this, but it's some sort of background. Another thing I want to say is about the godlike technology. A lot of these things which are potentially threatening, and imagine the inventor of the wheel, and then all the critics around him who would say, or her, who would say, how do you expect to get around on that thing? But anyway, on with the show. So me, I think Loy has given me a reasonable introduction. President of the Sacramento Writers Club, California Writers Club, the Sacramento branch. You can go to their website and explore that. It's all very interesting, and we do wonderful things. I have 2 published novels. Of course, I'm not flogging these, but they're for sale in the next room. Orzel, which is Polish for eagle, and it's about a Polish submarine in World War II, and Girl Electric, where artificial intelligence goes to high school. And as you can guess, I have some sort of technological background. I was a software engineer in a previous life, so it helped me travel the world and meet people and see wonderful things. Now, what am I going to talk about? God help me. There's loads I can talk about, but there's 4 things in particular. Global markets. Well, I know you're thinking we're authors, we're not corporate entities. But bear with me on this one, because there are ways that you can get into global markets. Book talk. I'm using that simply as an example of social media generally, but I've chosen book talk because it has particular aspects which you might be interested in, and which also other analysts of writing and the publishing think that that's going to be the bee's knees of the future. Now the fun starts with artificial intelligence, and it continues into the future of audiobooks. Both of those are very problematic and potentially threatening to jobs, but also potentially promising. So let's get on with it. So, global markets. Why? Well, obviously it's going to increase sales. You're selling here, but if you can sell elsewhere as well, that's great. It gives you a lot of credibility, a lot of street cred. Hey, I'm an international bestseller. But at the very least, it's going to increase your knowledge about the writing and especially the publishing and distribution business. And you don't need to be a corporate entity to do this. Simple, humble people like me can do it and have done it. Okay, I'm not an international bestseller, but I am an international seller. So this is a statistic. The bottom in purple is the American share of total book sales worldwide. It's bubbling around 0.25% of global sales. Above that in the light purple is China, which is coming up to or predicted to be about 20%. That's probably one of the most challenging, not just because of the language, but also the culture. We'll get to that in a minute. But above that is Germany and Japan and India and the UK. The top is the others, which are many, many small ones, but there's this, like for instance, Australia and New Zealand. They speak English, so it's easy to publish there, but the populations aren't very big, and the sheep haven't learned to speak English yet, or read. But the EU is a huge market, and there's also England, which is an English-speaking, obviously, market, which has a potential to start in. So, targeting. Of course, you're going to have to think about how do I access them? Well, first thing you have to think about is the market itself and the culture. Is my book applicable to it? Like for China, there's a lot of things that you simply cannot publish there. And North Korea, don't even think about it, just don't go there. So think about your romance and things like that are going to be, very universally acceptable. Children's stories are probably universally acceptable as well. But is there scope for sales in that given market, and how do I approach it? For instance, do I need a local agent? Someone who's going to have knowledge of that culture and how to position and market your book. Because also advertising, that's something that's going to have to be Amazon ads, Facebook ads, and such like that. It's not just selling the book, because that's not going to sell itself. But very importantly, probably most importantly, is there some sort of local printing? Because if you're sending them from the States, a major cut into your profits, and probably put you into a red, if anything. But Ingram Spark, who I self-published through them, they have various print-on-demands all over the world, like Australia, England, Europe, and stuff like that. So I use them for selling in the UK, and I have sold books through the UK. I looked at India, because that was also another large market, and also some potential for, you don't need to translate perhaps, because there's a lot of English speakers there. And there's a whole bunch of people there there's a bunch of names, Blinkstore, Quick Ink, and so on, who actually do print on demand. Now, but what about language? Can I use Google Translate? Well, no. Don't even think about it. You're going to eventually need a translator, which I'll get to in a bit. And the reason why you cannot use things like Google Translate is, take this phrase, for instance, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. If you use some sort of simplistic AI translator, you get something like this.
Oh,
the meat is full of maggots, but the booze is okay. So think of what's going to happen throughout your entire book. Some sort of evil mystery thriller is going to turn into a comedy or something like that. So find a human translator, and I'll give you a potential resource online where you can do that. And select, because you have to validate the translator. You have to know that because translating is extremely important. I've heard of some books that they're mediocre in their original language, but if you get the right translator and they translate it into another target language, sometimes they're even better at that, partly because of the culture difference, partly because of the translator and the literary enhancements that go into it. So you're going to have to evaluate that. So, for instance, I have a book which, obviously for sale, it's about the Polish submarine. I'm half Polish, by the way, hence my outrageous name, Wozny. But my father was Polish. So I came across this story, which is a true story, and it's for sale here in the States and in England. But I want to tackle the Polish market. How do I get it translated? I don't know any translators. My wife is Polish, but she's not going to do it. She doesn't know all the technical stuff. So I've selected 2 chapters. One chapter is technical. It's about the submarine doing chasing and all the technical stuff, all the maths that they have to go through, how they load the torpedoes, this, that, and the other. And another chapter is emotional and about the morale of the crew, because it's a Polish submarine, World War II, Poland collapses, loss of nation, they don't have a home to go to. What the hell we're going to do for the rest of the war? Broken-hearted, demoralized. So I need someone who can translate both sides of the story. And the morale is probably the most important. And then you got to get those back and evaluate. Of course, I can't read Polish. Well, the most Polish I can say is order a beer, order a sandwich, where's the toilet, can I go to bed? What else do you need? But I can't read this stuff and I can't evaluate it. But I do know Polish people, so I can give them the translation. And they've also read my book, So they can say, well, yeah, that's pretty good, I like that, yeah, choose him, or don't choose them, or whatever. And then once you've accepted one, you usually go through a few iterations of modifying things in the book. Now, one resource, Fiverr, some of you may have heard of this, Fiverr.com. And you can find all sorts of things there. People who will build your websites, people who will edit your books, people who will proofread and beta readers and all this sort of stuff. All at knockdown prices. Some do technical documents, not novels. But you can find people who translate a novel into a particular language, or anything else that you like to do. I'm not endorsing this, and there are other sites which are very similar, but check it out and give it a whirl. So, moving on, book talk, multimedia boards, social media. I'm no good at computers, I don't like this sort of stuff. I've actually met several authors who don't have any activity on social media or any sort of publication because they're shy and afraid of showing themselves off. Strangely enough, I'm also shy and afraid of showing myself. Look, my hands are shaking, you know. And it's a common problem. But I do urge people to get onto social media, even if you don't know what you're doing. Engage in it, observe, and you don't have to, play there or do anything, but just observe and see what's going on. Now, Book Talk is part of TikTok, so you actually log into TikTok and create an account. And then you search for something called Book Talk, and you're taken to that sort of subdirectory, sub-pages. And there's also an author talk, and a writer talk, and a publisher talk, all the things that you're going to be interested in, graphics and all that sort of stuff. So do explore. There is talk in the industry that Book Talk or TikTok generally, is going to take over and go past things like Amazon. You're going to now be able to sell books. But connect with readers and authors and at the very least observe what's going on, because you might be able to learn something. And then if you're able to, promote your work. Now here's a web link I put down here to a particular person which I found on TikTok, and it's an author, but she's also doing some writer coaching. I daren't click it here because I don't know, the whole building might blow up or something like that, short circuits and things, but so I'm going to leave it as is. But if you take these slides home, which I don't mind, look at that link, and it's this woman is doing some writers coaching, and she's talking about what writers can do before they actually launch their book. Because once you engage an audience, no matter how big or how small, they're going to be potential buyers. So that's what you want to do. So give people little snippets. Oh, I wrote chapter 2 today, and it was about blah, blah, blah. And people come and listen because they want to know what you're writing about, what you're struggling with, what you're having fun or difficulties with. So, but Book Talk or any social media in general, social media tends to be a parasocial relationship. That's kind of like a one-way. It's you going out to the media and telling people outside the world what you're doing. So you have to sort of create and manage your public persona. And this is kind of frightening in a sense, because you have to be a public person. It's like, oh my God, stand in front of people and talk. And you also have to be aware of group behavior. So there's good things about group behavior because you can channel that group into you. If you find people who are interested in romance books or thrillers or children's or comedy or whatever it is you're working on, how do you attract those people? And I'm not going to give you answers to this here because this is not the subject here. But one important word of advice, if there's going to be any hecklers out there, anyone who's giving any sort of nasty, like, oh, I don't like your stuff because it's, don't respond. Because you will also find that you're projecting a nasty personality. Let other people see what this person is screaming about and let them judge. It's leave them alone. Just do not even answer. If you can moderate, delete them. So, now the fun goes on. AI, artificial intelligence. Everyone knows what this is all about, I guess? Put your hands up when you know what AI is. That's way, everybody. Now, if there's one thing I want to get across, don't be blinded by the name. It is a simulation of intelligence. Like I said, I was involved in computers. There's an old program which it's written in BASIC, a very old language, computer language. And it's probably the original chatbot. And it's called ELIZA, L-E-L-I-Z-A. And you can look it up and still find it. And all it did, you would type in like something like, I'm feeling unhappy today. And all it did, the super stupid machine of a program, all it did was change take what you've typed in and turn it around and put it back at you. So, I'm feeling sad today. And it would reply, why are you sad today? Or do you always feel sad? I feel sad because I broke up with my girlfriend. Why did you break up with your girlfriend? And that's all it does. It's not intelligent in any way, shape, or form. But people would end up having meaningful conversations with this thing and going, oh, I feel so much better. But this is a simulation. I'm not saying those people are stupid, but it's just something that we do. We see something working and we think it's intelligent, but this is not sentient. Another homework piece for you, you can research whether machines can become sentient and self-aware, but that's, again, not a topic for this discussion. So, what it does, what AI does, it's not just throwing things back at you. It actually it actually learns and does research and pulls things together, and then it sort of simulates this intelligence because it has background knowledge. As an example, linear programming, which is the traditional way of programming, it does one thing at a time. So this is a stupidly simple piece of code. If you have a particular condition, in this case, if x equals y, then you do something else. So you break out of that line of code and you do this instead. Otherwise, continue what you're doing. Continue executing these pieces of code. Like for instance, if it's a computer program, if someone presses the button, then put this light on and then do something. If no one presses the button, keep going on what you're doing. So that's very simple. It can be on very fast computers, and you also have something called parallel computing, where you have different processors running different elements, but that just increases the speed. It's just singularly one line at a time. Now, artificial intelligence has many layers. The overall layer is encompassing everything. But what the machine is doing, it's given data and it's learning from that data and it's acquiring information. And if you go into deep learning, then the machine actually learns itself. The machine learning is human guided. The human will say, here's a bunch of data, here's a picture, or a bunch of pictures, tell me what's happening with these pictures. The deep learning, it's acquiring the pictures and learning itself. And it's not single-threaded. So here, what you have is what's called a neural network. And this is stupidly simplistic again, but you can have many, many millions, if not billions of these nodes. So here you're putting an input, a picture of George Washington, and you want to identify it eventually as George Washington. You have to teach it. You also have to show it various different other pictures of I don't know, Washington's mother. And so, no, that's not George Washington, that's his mother. But all these nodes break down that data, that picture that's being put in, and it learns through it puts different weights, basically, on each node, which then it learns how to identify the picture of George Washington. Can I have a rest yet? Now, consequences of deep learning, you have limited data sets. people also, we have limited experiences, so that's kind of also kind of similar to artificial intelligence. But you can also have, because of those limited data sets, like ChatGPT is limited to so many years of data that it's acquired. So anything older or newer, it might not know anything about it. But you also can have optical and audio illusions. We also have optical illusions. You look at certain things and you think, well, that looks like something else. I don't know, how did that get there? But there's also copyright, and this is also actually a very major problem. Because I'll show you a tool in a minute about graphics, but apparently or Getty, who's collecting images, when you see, he has archives of images which are used for newspapers and magazines and stuff. They're claiming that a lot of the learning that those tools used were their images, and they want a cut of the royalties. So this is all new territory which the lawyers have to work out, and God help them. So one famous example is this cute little puppy dog. Hands up who thinks he's a husky. Yeah, well, he is a husky. The computer was being taught how to identify dogs. So is it a dog? Yeah, it's a dog. What kind of dog is it? It's a wolf. Huh? Why? They analyzed it, and it's because, well, it had teeth. Yeah, well, dogs do, but there was snow in the background. That's why the computer thought it was a wolf. So it's prone to error, as everything is. Now I'm about to show you some other weird picture, which is a graphic. First of all, it's an example of a tool which I'll show you the name in a minute. But you basically type in, I want a picture of a boy and a girl, they look in love, out by a lake. And the computer will generate this. It's extremely realistic. But when you see the problem, when you see the mistake, put your hand up. One, two. Think Octopus's Garden. That's a hint. Count the arms. She's got one arm around the top and another arm coming around there. I've seen other pictures where the person will have 5 fingers and a thumb. And it's kind of spooky and weird, but, and then you have to reiterate through the program to correct it and get rid of all the, but look how realistic it is. That's absolutely incredible. And the rendering time is just really minutes. So, tools that we can have as writers. For graphics, there's something called Midjourney, and that's an example of Midjourney. That's the program. Discord is actually a chat application where you actually put your text in, which then goes to Midjourney and it creates the image. Now, what you can do with these, if you're thinking of creating a book cover, don't use these tools, at least not yet. Talk to a real person who's writing. Karen, where are you? Karen, there she is. She's going to be talking about book covers later on, so if you want a book cover, talk to her. But because you don't actually own the copyright for what you create through these tools. So anyone can take your picture that you created for your book cover and use it anywhere they like, and you can't stop it. But you can use it for ad images, because if you're trying to sell a book, you're going to want Amazon or Facebook ads or something like that. And you can create like an image which is, say, something from one of your chapters and describe it. And you can use these tools to do it quite easily. But there's also editing and writing. Everyone's heard of ChatGPT? Yeah, that's basically a chat box. But I'll give you some examples of what you can use that with. But it can help break writer's block, and it can also help you create blurb. How many people, hands up, who have problems writing blurb? You've written a book, but you don't, me included, it's not the easiest thing. And elevator pitches, reducing it to the least common denominator of words is like, wow. And there are actually people who write books using ChatGPT. I wouldn't advise it, but some people claim to be very successful. But anyway. So, ChatGPT is basically a chat box. So you talk to it through a keyboard, you type in questions and you get answers, and you can iterate through that. So you're basically having a conversation with it. Oh, I feel sad today, but no, it's not like that. But it's that sort of same structure. So you can ask questions. Can you explain something? Can you explain how to write a book? Can you explain how to publish? Or give instructions. Give me a story outline for a romance novel. Boy meets girl, they live somewhere else, I don't know. And iterate that. You can say, expand on this idea. Can do this, or can you reduce that to a simple sentence? Like, for instance, change the romance to occur in Paris, not in Sacramento or something, you know. So, an example one. The question is, on the command line, can you, ChatGPT, can you create a custom book list using pods? Forget what pods is, that's an online tool, that's to do in websites and stuff. So a custom book list using pods to display books filtered by author or genre. Yes, ChatGPT says. Pods can be used to create, so it's answering me. And it's not only just answering me saying, yes, you can do it, it's giving me a list of instructions. And you can do this for things like anything, like Excel or WordPress or something like that you're using to work with. It will give you, to the best of its ability, what it knows and how to do it. And in this case, this is actually a genuine case, which I did. And it actually gives you a sample of code that you can use on your website. And this is another one I did. Provide me with taglines for a romance novel. The story involves a man who is a banker, a woman who owns a hotel in California. There's a song about that. They are forced together for a financial arrangement and end up falling in love. Of course they do, yeah. Suggest 10 lines, maximum 30 characters. And that's what it gives me. Love's balance sheet, a banker's heart. My favorite is, where is it? 1, 2, 3. Debits and desires, banking on love. And this is what produced by ChatGPT. I don't know, but I'm getting really turned on by this. You know? But anyway, and then you can go on. You can say select one of those and say turn that into like an elevator pitch or the back, you know, the blurb for the back of the book or something like that, or even chapter 1 of your story. Now, more fun. AI, video avatars. You can get an avatar which actually animated and actually talks. And I used a tool, an online tool called HeyGen to do this. It took me all of something like 10 minutes. A couple of minutes to actually choose the avatar, which again you're going to see is pretty realistic. Most of the time was actually typing out what she says, and then a few more minutes for the program to actually generate the video. Wish me luck, I hope it works.
I am Adara. I am a teenager in high school. While whitewater rafting, I suffered a drowning accident. I am now in a coma. Hello, my name is Zilla. My name means shadow. I am a nanotech entity that was injected into Adara to revive her from her coma. What you see is the body of Adara Banks. What you hear is Adara's voice. But I am driving her body. I am a military-grade human enhancement designed for soldiers, but I am programmed to emulate Adara Banks. What could possibly go wrong?
That is the subject of my book, Girl Electric, and that's a very basic outline summary. I'm not intending that to be an advertisement, I just wanted it to be an experiment, really. So I chose a young-looking woman who looks kind of like a teenager, and the story is about Adara Banks, the real girl who goes into a coma from a drowning accident. is administered nanotechnology which carries the AI, which is programmed to emulate it. So the AI has to learn how to be a human, and not only just learn how to be a human, but has to learn how to be a Dora. But it can't read her mind, so it doesn't know anything about it other than what people tell her. The nanotechnology is able to latch onto the nervous system and detect nerve impulse and also induce nerve impulses, so it can animate the body, as you can see. But 10 minutes to create something like that, which you may or may not like that as a advertising tool, but you know, I'm working on one. Right, audiobooks. Oh God, here we go. This is where I'm really going to get shot down in flames. Everyone knows what audiobooks are. You hire someone to read it, and I've listened to a few audiobooks, and to be honest, I'm kind of, yeah, there's people with nice voices and stuff, and it gives the book a different dimension. It can go through it perhaps quicker than reading it. You can listen to it in the car as you're on a long journey. But I found it a bit dry, and because it's the same voice doing the narration, doing the dialogue for all the different characters, and I think, oh, okay. There's a huge world out here waiting to be explored. So I've played with this, and yeah, doing narration, dead easy. That comes out super simple. Dialogue can be done with emphasis on emotions, so people would be shouting, angry, happy, sad, and all that sort of stuff. And as you select a different avatar for a video, you can also select different avatars for the voice, male, female, old, young, so on. And what you end up with is more like an audio play, not just an audio book, which I've only done little bits, and it's not perfect, I don't think, yet. A lot more work needs to be done on my part, and probably also on the part of the tools, but anyway, it's more like an audio play, and I find it much more entertaining. And I'm going to play with a sample right here. So this is Mr. and Mrs. W. No relation to people's living or dead, but this is the text I put in. So it's Mr. W fumbled with his keys in the darkness, and he's coming home late at night. He's plonkered, as I say. He's been out with his friends drinking far too much beer, and his wife is waiting for him, ready to crack his head open with the frying pan. And it's also based on a song from a musical called Mums and Dads, where these kids are going, mums and dads, let's play mums and dads. But that's your third homework for this evening, is to find that song and look it up. So, here's the audio. God, I hope this works.
Mr. W fumbled with his keys in the darkness, eventually managing to unlock the front door. Stumbling noisily into the house, Mr. W was greeted by the sight of Mrs. W standing firmly, with arms folded, and a very stern look on her face.
Hi honey, I'm home.
What time do you call this?
Is it 3 o'clock in the morning?
So, where have you been all night?
Well, it's like this. I met up with my buddy, and, we went out for a few drinks.
A few drinks? I think you had more than a few.
Oh, but, sweetheart, I brought you home a bottle of stout.
Good! That's something else I can cover you with.
That's also from the song, I brought you home a bottle of stout. But anyway, so as you can see, it sounds a little bit tinny, but with some work, and whether it's not just me or also the tool itself, I don't know, but there's a lot of potential there to get, I think, a very high quality audiobook. Now, controversy, yeah, your thinking is it's going to take away from the actual audio people who are doing the audiobooks. But I think it actually has a potential to create an industry. You could have, say, an operator of this program who has terrible voice and can't do audiobooks, but understands dialogue and narration and understands the character which the author would be explaining, and knows how to apply voices and intonations in that dialogue, there's a lot of potential. You can have that. I think that's, you know, that's. But anyway, it's for you to think about.
Mr. W fumbled with.
Oops, sorry. So I think that's it, really. I've spoken enough, and I've probably overrun in time, I don't know. But what I want to say, make it your future. Whatever you do, whether you use the technology or continue in your own creative way, that is your future. So you can contact me here, there, and everywhere. So if you do contact me by email, let me know your name, your question, your affiliation, and please don't send hate mail, because there's more than enough people in this world who hate me already. And there's my website, bernardwozny.com. Yay! Thank you. Any questions?
What program did you use for the audio?
Oh, yes, Revoicer. And for about $200, I bought the cheapo, rubbishy one, which was like a few tens of dollars. But for $200, it's supposed to be better quality, and you have a commercial license so you can distribute as you see fit. But Revoicer. But there's others. Elise?
So you've heard the local news about taking somebody's book and putting it into AI. It's recent news. So I'm wondering, what does it say or do for real writers? And it cheapens writing. What is the point of having skills? Naturally, I'm really against this. Anybody can go in and create a story. So what's the point of having skills?
I did a whole speech on it, or a whole class on
Yeah.
AI. Did you watch it?
No,
I
I'm
guess-
really against AI. So
I think you should watch it because I debunk a lot of the issues that you're worried about.
Somebody can come in and they can pick a topic and a title and a storyline, unless
You're not alone in that fear. That's one of the greatest fears.
it's.
Go back to the inventor of the wheel. Someone says, how are you going to get around on that? You might not adopt the wheel to get around, but if you look at it and appreciate it, the very least you might learn is geometry. So AI has a lot of, you know, potential. And I can understand why you and why other people dislike it and are frightened of it. Because, like you say, it detracts from the skills. You have a skill as a writer, yes. But as a writer, you can also use those tools. One thing I like to do with it on ChatGPT is break writer's block. I don't want to write a book, but I can type it like, I want to write about blah, something or other, and it will come back with something. And it might stimulate my ideas and kick me off. So in that way, I think it's a great tool.
Except what happens to, you know, how is somebody going to know what's a real writer and what's AI? I think it's a real turnoff to having skills, learning how to get over writer's block. Why isn't that just a crutch?
Apparently there are tools that some companies use to identify whether it's been generated by ChatGPT or not. Because you can say to the program, write me this story in the, like T.S. Eliot or something like that. So it'll learn from the books that T.S. Eliot wrote and any data that it has on that, and use that to create your story, and then it can easily be identified. And quite often, go back to copyright, that there might be phrases in there which are T.S. Eliot's, and that has happened before. And people, you know, if you do want to write a book, be very careful. And like I said about book covers, don't even think about it, because there's copyright issues which you can't get around. It might be something in the future, but okay, next question, sorry.
I didn't have a question, I just wanted to reiterate something you said. I was trying to write the synopsis for the back of my book, and it kept coming out too long, and they kept saying shorten it, shorten it. So I put it into ChatGPT and said, give me 5 examples of this same thing with only so many words, and it came back with some really delightful things. And I stole a sentence here or there. It was my words. It had just been all rearranged. And
did you use it?
Huh?
Did you use it?
I used one sentence from it, which shortened everything down, and it was like, wow, okay. So as a tool.
Yeah, as a tool, yes.
Rearranging and adapting my own words, it was wonderful.
Like I say, Paul.
How did you get video avatars again? You said something about HN.
Hygen, Heygen is the one I used. But there are others, and you can do so many for free. But whether it's commercial, I don't know.
I just saw yesterday where Michael Connolly, John Grisham, and a whole consortium of authors are suing the parent company of ChatGPT on a copyright issue because it takes them a year to put the book together. It takes ChatGPT 15 minutes to put together their work. So
That's why I mentioned copyright. That's a big stumbling block. So, yeah. And it's using in its database examples of people's books, as Midjourney, the graphics one, is using examples of pictures from various databases. That's how it learns, and there's no way around it. So it needs that information base. So yeah, copyright is a big challenge. So don't do anything commercial with it. Do something simple, ads or a tool to break your writer's block or something like that. But in the years to come, things will be perfected. And maybe John Grisham and the Getty Foundation will get potential parts of royalties from these. I don't know. It's not for me to answer that, but yeah. I hear these stories all the time. If I have a minute still, I would like to say something else. Nothing to do with this. The California Writers Club, in 2003, we approached the legislature and got the California Writers Week for the third week of October ad infinitum. So every October, forever and ever and ever, in California, we have California Writers Week. So as the CWC, I'm endeavoring to celebrate this and get writers to come out. It's also mentoring readers as well as writers. So we have a few events. You can talk to Tim Schooley at the back there, and he's the actual chair who's organizing these events. We're concentrating on Sacramento area, but we have 3 bookstores where we have some of our authors from the club are actually going out to do readings and introduce themselves to the public and sell books through those stores. And let me show you something. It's good, isn't it? No. This is the poster from the central board. This is a few years old. This is the only promotional material the statewide club had. There's been lots and lots of photos about 2003, and there was an original resolution which was created, and Karen Phillips here has quite kindly reproduced, because it was lost to posterity. No one knows what happened. It was in a big frame and stuff like that. Common theory is that somebody wanted the frame and not the actual resolution. The state doesn't provide facsimiles, so I asked Karen Phillips to produce this. The only difference is the actual signatures are missing, but the names of the signatures are there. And otherwise, I think it's damn near perfect reproduction of the resolution. So we're going to be sticking post. Applause for Karen. But you'll hear more from her later on today. So that's it for me. You can start chasing me with pitchforks now.